Hey everyone, welcome to this webinar. Today I'm here with Greta, product specialist, and myself, growth marketing at Rock. We'll be walking you through some of the latest features, including Workspaces, Reminders, Pinboard, and the Rock bot for Slack. This session will take about 20 to 30 minutes. We'll quickly browse through the different features, and we will leave some time towards the end for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to already drop them in the chat or leave them for the end, and then we will make sure to help you out with anything. I'll start with the Workspaces, then Greta is going to pass to explain Reminders and Pinboard, and then afterwards, to wrap it all off, I will be explaining the Rock bot for Slack. So without waiting too long, let's directly skip to the functionality of Workspaces. Let's see. Share. All right. Workspaces on Rock were recently introduced to make it easier to collaborate with people, but also to manage your spaces. So on this demo account, I have a few example workspaces, a main team account, a marketing account, and a community account. Let me first really quickly walk you through the functionality that Workspaces include. So Workspace is essentially a group of spaces and a group of people that you can manage from one place. So let's say you're working with a team or you're working on a project and it includes different spaces. You can create a workspace that includes all of those, and then the members of the workspace will be directly added to each space as well. So as you can see in the panel here, there are 6 spaces in this workspace, which you can manage in any way. So you can remove them, but also you can add spaces from your overall space list. And then you can also manage all the members. So you can decide what role they will have in the workspace, but you can also directly remove members from workspaces in case they are no longer part of the team, or you can add someone and then they will directly be included in all the spaces within your workspace. Now, what are some examples of workspaces you can apply for your own team? We've included 3 for this webinar. So the first one is general communications and just centralized information workspace. So let's say you have a big 50 people team and you have your typical spaces that everyone is a member of. Let's say general announcements, all hands, random water cooler spaces, or just in general communication channels where everyone in the team should be present or should have access to. You can then create a workspace with all those channels and directly link the relevant spaces to it. As you see, you will also see the one-on-one spaces with people you have in that workspace, so that if you have any chats open with people from your team that are a one-on-one space, they will also be visible within that workspace by timeline. Another example is particular use cases or client projects. So let's say you have a team with 50 people, and in there you have 5 marketing spaces that only 10 people need to have access to, because it's only relevant to the workflow of those 10 people. Then you can create a sub workspace that has all those spaces in there, so that next time someone joins or if someone leaves your team, you directly know where they should have had access to a certain workflow. So here in marketing, let's say you have a content and production, website development, a creative space, a web design, and other pages that are relevant to the specific workflow of marketing. You can then put all of those together into one workspace, in this case, the marketing workspace, which you can do the same for engineering, customer success, sales, or any other division within your company, and organize it with the people that should be part of those spaces, and then directly have all those spaces together in one place. Last, which I think is a really cool way of also using Rock now, which is made possible through Workspaces, is you can create more extensive communities. So let's say you have a typical community for your organization or outside of your organization. You can then introduce different channels to that community, different spaces to that community. Let's say you want to have an introductions, a general, a random, ask a question, ask me anything, sales, or any other spaces that are relevant to that community. You can now set up a workspace in a way that you can invite people directly to that workspace and then join your community. Because if you click on the pin here, you can see that for invite, you can just have an invitation link. So if you invite someone as member or as guests, then they will directly receive that invitation link. And once they click on it, they will be member of all the spaces within your community. So you don't have to manually invite them to individual spaces in that community. We have a dedicated guide for the workspaces on our help center. So if you have any questions on the overall functionality of help center of the workspaces, you can check that out. And if not, you can leave a question in the Rock customer support space within Rock, or reach out to support@rock.so. That's most on Workspaces. So I'll pass over to Greta, who's going to be explaining reminders and Pinboard now.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Nico. Yes, so let's move on to reminders and Pinboard. I would actually like to start with Pinboard. So it's a feature which we already had on mobile, and recently we introduced it on desktop, app, and web. So the main purpose of the Pinboard is to make sure that information is very easily accessible. To the most relevant information, to be precise, is very easily accessible to everyone in a space. So where you can find that Pinboard is here, this little pin icon. And it's very easy to imagine the situation that there is a space with a certain team that works on a project. And this could be really helpful to dedicate a manager or an admin of a space who is in charge of that Pinboard. So not everybody is able to add or remove items from the Pinboard, only an admin of that specific space. So in this case, it would be a manager who can manage what's added and what's removed, basically. And also the space has to be upgraded to Pro to be able to use this feature. So how it works is basically you can add any tasks, topics, notes, or files to the Pinboard. So if you go to the tasks mini app, you open a task, and then you can see here that you have this little pin icon, and you can pin it this way. So that works the same way with all the other mini apps. So if you go to topics, notes, or files mini apps, you choose a topic, note, or file, and then you can add it to the Pinboard, and it appears here. So here you have all added items. What you can do here is you can drag and drop them to create kind of an order. So if you want to, you can make sure that the most relevant items are on top, so they are the first ones that the person who opens a Pinboard can see. And here you have those different divisions, like little folders, where you can see pinned items according to their type. So if it's tasks, notes, or files. With messages, you can also pin messages. So for example, there was a message in a space which was containing some relevant information. And of course, if more people are chatting in the same chat, you will easily miss it because there will be many more messages coming. So if you want to make sure that this message is easily accessible, you can just click this pin icon here, and it will appear on top of all pinned items, as well as right here. And with links, so it's a little bit different. So if you want to add a link, you should click on this plus button here, and then on the URL option. So here you can add a link, and it will be added to your Pinboard as well. So if there are some links that are relevant to everybody in the space, you can easily collect them in your Pinboard and make sure that people can access them from link section. So yeah, you can also use the search function here if you know that there is something relevant, if you know a keyword that you're looking for and you don't want to browse through different sections. Here you can just add this keyword, and you will easily find an item that you were looking for. Also, you can add, mention, set aside, and remove items from the Pinboard. So here, if you want to just copy the link and use it somewhere else on Rock, you can just copy it from the Pinboard and use it. The same with set aside. If there is something that you need to come back to later, you can click that one, and it will appear. The item will appear in your set aside panel. By clicking plus here, you can pin items from here as well. So you don't have to always go to the tasks, topics, or notes mini apps. You can just use add, mention, and you can find tasks or notes or any other objects directly from here. Right, I think that's most. It's maybe also good to mention that I think I mentioned that it's only pro spaces, only admins can edit the Pinboard. And also one important thing I don't think I've mentioned that is that only 100 items can be added to the Pinboard. And that's actually, if you would be able to add more, that kind of would defeat the purpose of the whole Pinboard, because the purpose of it is to make sure that only relevant items are here. So if you add more than 100, that would become too full and people would find it way more difficult to find relevant things. So if you're a manager, if you're an admin of that space, make sure that only the most important things are on Pinboard and monitor it frequently. So you can always go through it every week or every few weeks and make sure that unrelevant items are removed, so the team has the most up-to-date view on what's happening in the space and they can access files easily. I think that's most on the Pinboard. And now moving to task reminders. So if I go to the tasks mini app, I open a task. So now we are able to set reminders, to set system reminders. So before we were mostly getting email reminders on task due dates, but now you can also get the system reminder and you can choose the time that you want to receive it. So if I click on the due date, I should add the due date. And then here down below, we can see that we have an option to add reminders. So there are different options: 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day before. And you can choose whatever fits your situation most. So if I choose 30 minutes before, I can also then choose a people that will receive that reminder. So what's important to note here is that not everybody in the space will appear under this options. Only the people who are added as assignees or followers to a task. So in this case, I can just choose Casper and Jacob if I think that these are the people who should receive a reminder, and Emma, maybe she's just a follower in the task, she doesn't have to do anything, so I don't choose her as an example. Sometimes you might want to add a reminder for yourself. So if you're not assigned here and you also are not a follower of that task, you will not appear. So if you want to get the reminder yourself, just simply add yourself as a follower and you will be also appearing under the list for the reminders. So here we set the due date, we set the reminder, and we can expect the reminder to be sent out 30 minutes before the task. So that basically helps to make sure that nothing gets missed out, that people are reminded just before the deadline, so you get your task delivered on time. I'll just quickly show where those reminders appear. So they basically appear under the activity panel where all your activities are displayed. So when the time comes, when it's 30 minutes before the end of the deadline, it will appear here on top. So you will be notified and you will see, okay, I have to finish the task in 30 minutes. That's most from my side, and I hand over to Nico then.
All right, time to walk you through the last feature. Let's see, continue, which is Rockbot for Slack. Rockbot for Slack was introduced for those teams that might be using Rock for task management, but still want to use Slack for messaging. We understand how tricky it can be to make a switch from a platform and maybe have a lot of conversations, so your team struggles to do a switch for everything in one go. So in order to make the transition period easier and to be more integrated with other tools, we've introduced Rockbot for Slack. What does this bot do? What this bot does is for new tasks, notes, and topics, and changes your tasks, notes, and topics, it will send a custom notification into your Slack workspaces. So you can set up the space in any Workspace. It's a completely free feature. So you can add it to any space that you want to connect to your Slack workspace. And then once it's all fully integrated, you can then, for every new tasks or changes for tasks, you'll get a notification message in a Slack channel. So if you're looking to add one of those bots, you can do that through this panel. So it will appear in integrations. Note that this is a pro space, so it does have the Zapier integration, but for free spaces, it does not. Let me check if there's one of these that are free. So for example, the creative space is free, but as you'll see, the Slack integration is available in here on top of there. Once you set up the integration, you can choose the name of it. You can change the image of the bot in your space, and you can decide which activities you want notifications for in your Slack spaces. So for this bot, I've just turned on all the options for notifications, which is create a note, create a task, create a topic, and changes to tasks, notes, and topics. So let's create a really quick test. So we'll call it test task for bot. So I will create this task now. Let me add an assignee. I'll add a due date. I'll add a label. I'll add a description. Now, the moment I click on add task, it will be created in the Workspace, but now you will also be able to have that information moved to a Slack space. What does it look like? Well, what it looks like is that within, this is a Slack workspace for Let's Rock HQ. And as you can see, there is a marketing campaign space where maybe you have the same team members or you have other team members that need to get notifications for this. But you will now see that a new task was created in content and production for Rock. There's a direct link to the task. So if anyone is already logged into Rock as well, they can just click on it and they will see that a task was created. You can see the title, the status, the priority, assignees, due date, the labels, and followers. And you can also see who it was created by with a small snippet with the image. Now, what happens as well is if tasks are updated, so if you make changes to them, or if you move them from one list to another because you have made progress with a task, you can then also receive a notification into the space. This is a different checkpoint from creating tasks, so you can decide to receive either one, the other, or both. In this example, there was a task called new website update, and it was moved from backlog to preparing content. Jacob updated it, and you will see in Slack a dedicated notification for that. And then you can just click on the task, open that in Rock, and then you will directly be able to continue working on that. This is possible to do in every Rock space, as I said before. Let's go back to Rock, and it accounts for all the different features. So let's say you just moved to Rock and a team is still trying to figure stuff out and you want to use both tools at the same time. We hope that this makes it easier. If you're trying to look for more information on the Rockbot for Slack, we have a dedicated product guide for it on the Help Center. Look under integrations for the Rockbot for Slack product guide, which explains more of the technical details and the more technical part of getting it integrated. If you're looking to remove the integration for any reason, you can do so by going to your user settings, authorized apps, and then removing Slack from the list. But what you can also do is in the space itself, the bot is added to there, and then you can just manage all the integrations you have in the space from space settings. Know that you have to be an admin in order to add the Rockbot for Slack. So if you are not, please ask one of your space members to upgrade your permissions if you want to set up the integration. That's most for this product release. We'll pass to questions now. I also want to already thank everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us in the Rock customer support space or through support@rock.so.